inventions. This is going to be an obscure invention in other people's eyes, but for me, I feel like this is one of the best inventions Black folks have come up with for survival. This invention is called Black resistance. Black resistance is something that I'm going to limit to around the 1600s and above, and probably stop it into like the early 1900s. You have Black people fighting those who have chained them. We hear about in America Nat Turner. Nat Turner was a Christian man who used the Bible to awaken so-called slaves. He used the Bible to tell Black people that they deserve respect and they are of God. They are God's reflection, and that they have been cursed into slavery by the devil. Then he was able to entice this insurrection, and him and this group killed their slave owners while they were sleeping, and eventually they were caught. We're told about Nat Turner like Nat Turner was one of a million, when in reality paying his tribute to a catalyst that was already existing. They don't tell you in history, and let's specifically get to the 1700s. In 1708, there's an account of a small group of so-called slaves, and including an Indian and female. They got together and they started killing and conspiring against people who had enslaved them and beat them and humiliated them. They killed them. They're caught, some were killed. Then you have other accounts. In 1712, you had this group of people conspire to set themselves free. The way that they had established trust amongst one another, they cut and sucked each other's blood to let each other know it was a brotherhood. It was something more deeper than the human flesh. They were spiritually connected for this one mission of liberation. It was actually pretty beautiful to even hear that these people have done that. And this was between 20 and 30, and it was some Indians again, and they're native people, indigenous people of the Americas, people who rightfully belonged in the America. They burnt buildings, they got guns, clubs, knives, whatever they did to themselves. They killed 9 of their enemies, and they wounded between 5 or 6. They were captured within 24 hours by the American government, the American government's soldiers, and some of them were killed. Majority of them were killed, and some were pardoned, including a pregnant female. Then you have other accounts of villages being built between Black folks and the native people that were here. These villages allowed them to hide and protect themselves and stay away from the slavery system that was going on with the Europeans and forcing others to involve themselves in. They had camps where they were armed and they were willing to protect themselves just to be liberated. Some of them were caught and a lot of people were killed. A lot of them people were killed. Some were put back into enslavement. So there's a history of Black folks in conjunction with Native American people sitting here and resisting their enemies. And then when we get across from America, because we all know who Toussaint Louverture was. He was a very instrumental player in Haitian Revolution. They defeated the French. Some people want to say, oh, they fought against the French. No, they beat the French. They beat Napoleon so bad to where, to this day, his ancestors make sure that the Haitian people are suffering and struggling. And it's something beautiful, because it wasn't like Toussaint Louverture was an anomaly. He was just like the American Black folks who were over here utilizing Christianity so that they can wake up the consciousness of their people so that they can realize that they needed to be liberated. Toussaint Louverture and the Haitian people were something special, though. They didn't use Christianity. They actually used Catholicism mixed with ancestral spirituality to gain the nerve to fight off the French, to kill them, to let them know that they wanted to be treated like dignified humans. It was crazy to even think that these people could progress to that when it seemed like they were out-weaponed, but they created their own spiritual weapons so they can free themselves. So that is something that I wanted to talk about for this category of inventions. Black resistance. That is one of the greatest inventions we have created.